You know, every rainy season in Ghana, it feels like we're watching the same story play out. The skies open up, the streets just turn into rivers, and tragically, lives are lost. We've gotten so used to calling these natural disasters. But what if they aren't natural at all? What if we're actually the ones engineering them? I mean, to really get a sense of the stakes here, you just have to look back to June 3rd, 2015. A massive flash flood hit Accra. A crowd of people were just trying to find shelter at a fuel station, and then an explosion. Over 150 people died in that one single horrific event. That wasn't just a tragedy, it was a wake-up call about our infrastructure. And this really forces you to ask a tough question, right? Are these devastating floods truly unavoidable acts of God? Or are they the completely predictable result of something we're doing, an act of construction? Okay, so let's really dive into this. The core argument from researchers is pretty shocking. They say these floods are basically the result of thousands and thousands of small building decisions that we've made over decades. The idea is we aren't the victims of disaster. In a very real way, we are its architects. So to kind of solve this mystery, we first need to understand how a city is supposed to work with nature. And for that, urban planners have this really useful framework of 3 systems that are all connected. Think of it as our investigator's guide to the whole urban scene.
Right, so here they are: green, blue, and gray. Green infrastructure, that's the living stuff, trees, soil, parks, the things that soak up water naturally. Then you've got blue, which was the water system: rivers, wetlands, places that store and move water. And finally, gray, which is everything we've built: our roads, our drains, our buildings. Now, in a healthy city, these 3 are supposed to work together in harmony. But in Ghana, we've basically been setting them up to fight each other, committing what the source material calls 3 major sins.
Let's start with culprit number 1, our habit of just completely erasing the green. It's almost standard practice now. Before a single block is laid on a new plot of land, a bulldozer comes in and just scrapes the whole thing bare. Every tree, every bush, gone. And look, this isn't just a feeling. We have hard evidence. Take Kumasi, of all places, Ghana's famous garden city. Since the year 2000, it has lost an incredible 60% of its urban tree cover. 60%. This isn't just about making the city look less pretty. We're talking about removing critical living infrastructure. And that really gets to the heart of it. You see, a tree isn't just a decoration. It's a piece of high-performance machinery. It's stormwater management. It's an air conditioner. It's a carbon storage unit. So when we chop it down, we don't actually get rid of those costs. We just transfer them, all that heat, all that water runoff, onto the public and onto the future. And this problem just compounds because it's not just the green we're getting rid of. We are literally invading the blue. I mean, we have systematically built our homes, our shops, even markets, directly inside the natural pathways that were designed to carry water away. The scale of this is just staggering. By 2024, it's estimated that 80,000 people were living inside the floodplain of just one river system in Accra, the Oda. And this is in direct violation of buffer zone laws that have been on the books for decades. We're literally building liabilities right where we know the water is going to go. So, what's the direct consequence of all this? Well, researchers have found that flood events that used to happen maybe once every 5 years are now happening pretty much every single year. It's become an annual expectation. By squeezing our rivers, we've basically made disasters a routine part of the calendar. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, what you could call our cultural obsession with gray infrastructure. In Ghana, for a long time, modernity has looked like one thing: concrete. When an area floods, what's our first instinct? Build a bigger concrete drain. We treat concrete like it's the answer to everything, when a lot of the time it's actually making the problem worse. So let's take a look at how these 3 sins come together to create a real-world disaster. The case of Tema Community 25 is, tragically, a perfect example. Let's look at the evidence from an audit of the area back in 2019. First thing they looked at was the ground itself, and what they found was wild. A staggering 94% of the residential compounds were totally sealed with concrete. That means when the rain falls, it has absolutely nowhere to go. It just runs right off. Okay, then they looked up at the trees. Fewer than 8% of the plots had kept any large canopy trees. So those natural sponges and umbrellas that should be slowing the rain down, almost completely gone. And finally, where's all that runoff supposed to go? Well, the area's natural storage tank, its wetland catchment, had been shrunk by 70% since 1980, mostly replaced by new housing developments. So here's where it all connects. You take 94% concrete surfaces, you get rid of almost all the trees, and you destroy 70% of the natural wetlands. And what's the result? Well, in 2022, a single overnight rainfall flooded over 1,200 homes. The connection between the two isn't just a theory, it's direct and it's undeniable. You see, it's like a recipe for disaster. These sins, they're not just individual problems, they act as a force multiplier. Step 1, you remove the trees, so the rain just hammers the ground. Step 2, you build in the wetlands, so now there's nowhere for all that runoff to go. And finally, step 3, you seal the ground with concrete so the water can't soak in. And just like that, you've turned a normal rainstorm into a life-threatening flood. There's this quote from the analysis that just absolutely nails it. It says, "Every rainy season is a referendum on the land use decisions of the dry season, and Ghana keeps returning the same verdict." I mean, think about that. The rainy season isn't the problem, it's the test. And year after year, the results of that test are showing that we are failing. So where do we go from here? Look, maybe the single most important thing to take away from all this is that fixing it doesn't require some fancy futuristic technology. It doesn't even need a huge influx of foreign aid. The solutions are already sitting right here. What's missing is something else entirely. Seriously, we could put tree retention clauses in building permits tomorrow. We could actually start enforcing the buffer zone laws that have been around since 1996. We could amend the building codes to require permeable surfaces. Ghana's own universities, its own engineers, they have all the expertise needed to do this. This is not a knowledge gap, it's an enforcement gap. And that really is the bottom line, isn't it? The tools are right there on the shelf. The plans have already been written. The laws are on the books. The problem isn't that we don't have a cure, it's the refusal to actually use it. And so, this whole thing ends with a final, really provocative thought. Ghana is standing at a crossroads. It has all the tools it needs to create safer, greener, and more resilient cities. The real question is, will it choose to use those tools for genuine reform, or will it just reach for the concrete and build another drain?